South China Morning Post, 18th of February 2024, China is building more villages in the disputed area than Bhutan talks about border discussions. China established villages as part of its occupation strategy to bolster its claim to territory that India, Nepal, and Bhutan claim. Within a long disputed border zone between China and Bhutan, 18 new Chinese residents stood in line to move into their newly constructed homes in a secluded Himalayan village. Behind them, a giant red banner welcomed them in Tibetan and Chinese script. Each carried a newly framed photo of China's President Xi Jinping, large enough to show only their heads and lower legs. The Tibet Federation of Industry and Commerce posted on WeChat that on December 28, 38 households from the Tibetan city of Shigatse became the first residents of the newly enlarged Tamalung village. In the disputed area, China has constructed at least 3 villages, this one being one of them. Tamalung doubled in size in the second half of 2023 as border villages in the Tibet Autonomous Region saw a sharp increase in border village growth last year, spearheaded by local governments. 7 days before the homeowners move in, US-based Maxar Technologies captured satellite imagery revealing 147 new homes. According to accounts in the local media, the village extension was planned to house 235 households on top of the 200 residents who were residing in just 70 dwellings at the end of 2022. According to officials, the community served as citadels to bolster national security and improve living circumstances as part of China's state-led initiative to reduce poverty. Lashag County, which oversees Tamalung, reported in its 2023 funding report on poverty alleviation that it had invested an estimated 26 million yuan, $3.6 million, in village infrastructure. 2 bridges, paved roads, and the strengthening of a stream bank were all made possible by the funding. According to satellite photos, the project was finished in 6 months. China's foreign ministry faxed to the South China Morning Post that building on Chinese land would not affect its border negotiations with Bhutanese territory that is under occupation. It stated that the two parties are on course to press for additional border negotiations. Although the capital of Bhutan, Thimphu, has downplayed the controversy raised by these villages thus far, India, Bhutan's closest ally, is closely monitoring developments in the disputed border area, which spans about 495 square kilometers, 191 square miles. Another border settlement, Gyalapug, to the east of Tamalung, doubled in size the previous year after over 16 square kilometers, 6.2 square miles, were demolished to make room for over 150 homes. The new residences are in satellite images next to a Communist Party community center with a small library, other amenities, and an existing 4-row housing complex. Chinese official media claims that when Gyalapug was founded in 2007, it had just 2 houses, no power, and no water. From 2016 to 2018, it was transformed into a model village as a part of Xi's initiative to reduce poverty through moderate prosperity. Party spokesperson, People's Daily, stated that by the end of 2021, Xi's deadline for the party's centennial goal of reducing poverty in the nation, over 620 border moderate prosperity villages, had been constructed. According to local authorities and state media, the settlement's dual purpose of defending the border and offering contemporary living originates at the highest levels of the party. In 2020, Zhao Tianwu, the party secretary for Lashag County, informed his colleagues that the party leadership should prioritize the promotion of moderate prosperity villages in border areas. The core of the village policy, he claimed, was Xi's thinking about border governance and stabilizing Tibet. During his first parliamentary session as party head in 2013, Xi brought up Tibet's significance in national security. According to construction tender records, the Development and Reform Commission of Lashag County submitted bids for a large portion of the housing and road construction in the disputed border zone. Among them was a paved road that connected the two communities in the hilly area, spanning 22 kilometers, 14 miles. Along the road were also dozens of other houses, none of which could be connected to any hamlet on the official list of administrative divisions maintained by the Chinese government. Some of the projects were financed by aid monies for Tibet from other provincial governments and state-owned businesses under the central government, such as the China National Cereals, Oils, and Foodstuffs Corporation. The corporation invested 20 million yuan, $2.7 million, to create border communities and health facilities, while Hubei province in central China contributed 28 million yuan, $3.9 million, according to Lashag County's 2020 annual report. According to budget documents from the previous year, the Tibetan government provided incentives worth up to 12,800 yuan, $1,780 to people living in other parts of the territory to relocate to the border area. Lashag County is administered by the Shannon City Administration, which has also announced plans to create a trial program for professional border residents to boost the strength of the defense force and expedite deep cooperation between the military and civilians. According to claims in state media, immigration police and village chiefs were already on the lookout for illegal immigrants. They were also alleged to frequently fly Chinese flags and splatter phrases and graphics on rocks and tree trunks, including the characters for China and the national flag. The Lashag County government, police, and citizens must work together to safeguard the border, bolster frontline patrols, and ensure that no one can enter or leave, as stated in the 2023 annual report. Although Bhutan and China do not have formal diplomatic ties, they have engaged in boundary negotiations since 1984 and have made significant headway toward resolving some territorial disputes. They decided in 1998 not to alter the boundaries status quo unilaterally. Following China's post-pandemic reopening, negotiations accelerated, and in their 13th expert group conference in Beijing last August, Chinese and Bhutanese authorities established a joint technical team to draw the border. Additionally, 7 years after their meeting in 2016, the foreign ministries of the two nations assembled for their 25th round of formal border talks in October. The villages were not established on Bhutanese territory, as then Prime Minister Lote Tshering stated in an interview with the Belgian publication La Libre in March of last year, and his government chose not to make a big deal out of them. According to Tshering, China and Bhutan are getting close to completing their three-step roadmap to settle the disagreement, which entails drawing a formal border declaration, visiting the demarcated area, and recording the line on paper. According to research colleague Amit Ranjan, Tshering Tabgay is unlikely to significantly alter Bhutan's position despite Tshering losing his seat in the country's January election. Bhutan is a small country, thus, it won't take any actions that will hurt Indian interests. Politically and economically, it is incredibly close to India, according to Ranjan of the South Asian Studies Institute at the National University of Singapore. Although commerce and investments are Bhutan's primary sources of income, New Delhi has not controlled Thimphu's foreign policy since 2007, when both nations decided to give Bhutan more autonomy in its external affairs. However, the Hindu newspaper's editorial in October claimed that New Delhi has been very wary of formal diplomatic ties between Beijing and Thimphu and a potential boundary deal. Professor Natasha Cole of the University of Westminster, who specializes in international affairs and studies Bhutan, observed that Bhutanese diplomacy has always been subdued, patient, and considerate of its neighbors' interests. She stated, "It is also important to respect the Bhutanese position on their interests, instead of the international media sometimes ventriloquizing on behalf of Bhutan." Although land swaps were unavoidable in any negotiations, Cole stated that it was difficult to make assumptions about the border dispute specifics and that Bhutan considered the resolution of the conflict to be existentially important due to the deep-rooted rivalry between China and India. Bhutan's foreign ministry did not answer a request for comment. However, Lashag County has already stated plans to develop Yalapug and Tamalung villages further into towns in its 2023 annual report, even as officials continue to undertake border negotiations.